Tim, if you can hear me, I can't answer. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream event tonight with the Democratic Party of Oregon, as we are probably multitasking and watching elections results on this historic evening. I want to welcome you all here. It's been quite a run, hasn't it? This is a critical election cycle. As most people have said, this is the most important election of our lives, and we're really feeling it now. But first, before we get started, we have a lot of people to thank that are part of the big Democratic team in the state of Oregon. And I want to give a shout out to our platinum sponsors: U.S. Senator Ron Wyden, IBEW, the Electrical Workers, Local 48, IUPAT, District Council 5. Those are the painters, great painters. Cow Creek Band of Umpqua Tribe of Indians. The Pacific Northwest Regional Council of Carpenters, UFCW 555. Those are the folks on the front lines, the essential workers at our grocers and in the back rooms helping us all out in this pandemic. The Oregon Federation of Nurses and Health Professionals doing that hard frontline work and also being a great Democratic partner. Morel Inc., always a great sponsor and a long time part of the team. The International Association of Machinists, Aaron Mitchell and Rosa Caceres La Mota, King Estate Winery, and NGP Van are among our great platinum sponsors. Our gold sponsors are led by our U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, Governor Kate Brown, our 4 Democratic Congressfolk, Peter DeFazio, Earl Blumenauer, Kurt Schrader, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici. And if you take a look at the slide, they're associated with a bevy of great elected officials, including Attorney General Ellen Rosenbaum, Treasurer Tobias Read, Labor Commissioner Val Hoyle, and a whole lot of other electeds and union folks and individuals. So finally, I would like to delay no more and immedately get you over to, well, take a look at our silver sponsors as we move forward in the evening, led by our Senate Majority Leader, State Senate Majority Leader Rob Wagner, State Senator James Manning, and a bevy of other officials, including State Rep Alyssa Kenny Geyer, Rob Nose, State Representative Paul Evans, C&E Systems, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde and Warm Springs, Fieldworks, Joint Council of Teamsters, Len Bergstein and Northwest Strategies, and also Northwest Oregon Labor Council, AFL-CIO, Praxis Political, SEIU, Local 49 and Local 503, and Winning Mark. And with that, thank you so much. And I would now like to, okay, we are on a Zoom tonight, and it's a very, very, very busy evening, as you can imagine. Our elected officials are all over the place, and some of them are calling in, and some of them are calling their field associates and finding out what's going on where. So why don't I talk a little bit about this strange election? And I would like to thank the volunteers. Many of you are volunteers, of course. You fought through the limitations and restrictions of COVID, not only in this general election cycle, but through the primary as well. Just days after the filing deadline, we were suddenly beset by COVID, and we had to face the restrictions that COVID put upon our lives. So a big thanks are owed to so many folks, from our wonderful, wonderful coordinated campaign manager, Ashleen Coughlin, who took on one of the toughest tasks in any election season, to all our DPO staff and campaign staffers who are virtually spread out throughout the state. To every volunteer, we give you great thanks. And also to our county parties and the folks that volunteered with our county parties. They are a mainstay of making the Oregon Democratic Party, the Oregon Democratic presence, strong. And we were all doing it in this strange new way, where our field campaign, usually consisting of knocking on doors and talking to people face to face, ended up being a virtual campaign. But we turned out Democrats in record numbers, and many of you know, we surpassed the million mark in registered Democrats this past year, and we couldn't celebrate it in person, but it is indeed a celebratory act. So thank you for helping put this all together. And you know what? There's one other set of folks to thank. It is the folks that are families and friends of all of us that are campaign obsessed. Gosh knows that putting up with campaign obsessed people is an undertaking all its own unique self. So as the results are coming in nationally and our stomach is wrenching from one direction to another, I hope all of you keep the faith. As many of the pundits said, it's like, be patient, wait. As Shamia Fagan said earlier, take a breath, wait. Not everything's going to happen at once, and it can get pretty frenetic in watching all the results. But know that you put in so much work to make this all right, and to bring back a Democratic majorities, both not only retain it in Oregon, but to move forward nationally. So thank you for all your work, because as Democrats, we fight for everybody. We fight for everybody's living wage. We fight for everybody's access to health or care. We fight for everybody's kids having access to a great public education system. And we want to simply make all people's lives better. So with that, I need to check with our staff and see what's next. And I am checking. Okay, staff people, are you on with me? And do we have our governor with us yet? Well, we have our attorney general. Let's go there. I'm having a little bit of sound problems. I sound like MSNBC when they first started dealing with off-site, so appreciate the patience. Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum, thank you for joining us, and you are now on.
All right. I'm so sorry. I hope that you can hear me now. Technology is just one of those things that we have to deal with. Can I be heard? All right. Very good. Thank you so much. This is such an exciting moment. It appears that Oregonians have elected me to a new term as your Attorney General. I am incredibly honored, and I'm fully cognizant of the work that we have ahead of us. But this evening is a time for celebration, a few hours when we get to savor the fruits of the hard work put in by so many. Let's hope for continued good results as they are posted this evening. We should particularly welcome the prospects of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Let's hope for their success so that our lives can be calmer, our heads less shaken with divisiveness, and most important, so that we can all get back to work and join in the incredibly important task of putting America back together here at home and back in her proper place in the world. Now, I think you know that Kamala Harris was a colleague of mine when she served as California's Attorney General. She will be a history-making vice president, and I can't wait to see them together. As she says, Joe and Kamala. In this time of excitement and celebration, I want to be sure to give a big shout out to my team, Michaela, Charlie, Thomas, Paige, Luce, and Dan. This has been a crazy time to attempt to run a campaign, and you've all done it with real grace and energy, and thank goodness with success. To my family, to Team Rosenblum's amazing group of volunteers, to everyone who donated to my campaign, and to every Oregonian who cast their ballot this year, you have my sincerest thanks and my deepest gratitude. As we all know, as soon as we have the results of this election sorted out, it'll be time for all of us to get back to work. Democracy is a team sport. The rule of law, which is so central to the work I do, can only come into play with an enlightened and an engaged citizenry, one that is committed to working for the common good in the pursuit of a truly better future for all of us. These past 4 years have felt like a zero-sum game where someone has to lose for someone else to gain. That is not the way it's supposed to be in our state or in our country. Part of what makes serving as your Attorney General so rewarding is that by working to keep a level playing field for all Oregonians, we can live in a state where all of us can look forward to lives that are better for us and for our children than what we're experiencing now in this fraught world. Tackling climate change can make things better for every Oregonian. Repairing the lives and homes of those affected by the wildfires will better all of us. So will getting the coronavirus under control, which is a prerequisite to getting our economy and our schools back on their feet. Finally, combating racial injustice and addressing serious economic inequality in our society are actions that will benefit all of us. Despite all of the uncertainty and the challenges that we've navigated, especially this year, Oregonians commit acts of uncommon kindness every day. We help one another, we protect one another, and we advocate and we march for and with one another. I cannot stress enough how inspired I've been by daily acts of solidarity, caring, and community across our state. It's a big part of why I'm so honored to call myself an Oregonian and so truly humbled to have the confidence of the people of this state during such an uncertain moment. So long as Oregonians are up to every challenge, I and all of your publicly elected officials will be also. I'm even more inspired at this very moment as we witness historic Democratic participation. Despite all we've faced, Oregonians turned out in record-shattering numbers this election to make their voices heard and to demand leadership that appreciates the urgency of today's greatest issues. In my race, I believe Oregonians have affirmed certain important principles. One, we can and should make our state fairer and more just. Two, the rule of law must work for the most vulnerable among us, not against them. And three, everyone deserves the right to control our own body, to live free from discrimination and hate, and to look forward to a bright, sustainable future that can be enjoyed by our children and our grandchildren. I'm confident we'll see Oregonians affirming these values up and down the ballot as we watch the results come in through the rest of tonight and potentially the coming days and weeks. The work ahead needs the commitment of all Oregonians. I promise to do my part to fight for each and every one of you with every ounce of energy I have as the people's attorney. And I know, given the amazing efforts all of you have made for this evening's election, we will come through this in a much better place and hopefully get there sooner than we imagine. Here's to a great evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney General Rosenblum. It's such a pleasure to re-elect you once again. You do a great job for us, and I can personally attest to your remarkable Consumer Affairs Division, too. Fantastic. So thank you very much. Up next on the slate of our wonderful candidates and elected folks is Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, who represents Northwest Oregon in the 1st Congressional District. So I am so glad to be able to hand it back to you since you are going back to Congress to represent us once again. So please take it away, Representative Bonamici.
Thank you so much, Casey, and it's really great to be with you on this very important election night. I am deeply honored to have been reelected to represent Northwest Oregon in the U.S. House of Representatives. You know, people in Oregon and across the country have turned out in historic numbers to really stand up for our country, for democracy. And I know many of you put in countless hours over the past years. I'm grateful for all you have done for our communities. So at this point, the national scene is looking uncertain at this time, but regardless of what happens, I know one thing is clear. Number one, Democrats will be in the majority in the House of Representatives. Voters in Oregon will not allow Donald Trump to trample our rights and put his interests over what's right for the people. We in Oregon oppose bigotry, fear-mongering, and abuse of power. We stand for humanity and humility, for racial justice, for creating equitable opportunities for all, caring for our neighbors and those in need. That's the Oregon way. And as the representative for Northwest Oregon, I will continue to take these values to Congress to make Oregon and the U.S. places where people can have a better life now and a better future for next generations. I'm thinking tonight of the many people I've heard about here in Northwest Oregon in recent months and thinking about how we in Congress can help them. I spoke with a substitute teacher in Clatskanie who had lost both of her sons this past year, a single mom and small business owner who was struggling. How's she going to manage with the lack of childcare? I talked to a woman who was sleeping in her friend's basement because she couldn't afford rent, and too many people who have lost their health care because they lost their job. I carry their stories with me, and I know that we can create a better future for these Oregonians and for everyone. I'm so grateful to the families, the parents, the workers, the seniors, the young people who put their trust in me at this especially challenging time in this country. I'm still hopeful for some Senate races and for, I hope, a President Biden and Vice President Harris. I know there's a long road to recovery from the disastrous effects of the pandemic, a pandemic that's really deepened the inequities in our state and in our country. We must address these historic wrongs, increase access to quality education and childcare, protect our planet, and more. There's a lot we can do, and I look forward to all we can and will accomplish together in these next 2 years. So thank you. It is truly an honor. Thank you again, everyone, for the support.
Here's your last. KC and Democrats, first of all, it's good to have a chance to talk for a few minutes, and my recommendation is everybody ought to put on another pot of coffee, because I think we're going to be up a while tonight and you may need some more coffee in the morning. I also want to say, as I touch on a few points this evening, is I believe Oregonians have a lot to be proud of. We showed the country once again This time, we showed them how to do democracy right. Everybody all over the country decided that in the middle of a pandemic, they wanted to vote in a safe way. And they understood that was the Oregon way. And I will just tell you, as the country's first senator to be elected completely by mail, years ago, I introduced legislation to give everyone in the country the chance to vote the Oregon way. And now we're seeing that the country is actually doing it even before my bill passes. So I hope Oregonians will take a lot of pride in what we have seen in terms of making sure that the country once again follows Oregon and Oregon leadership by voting and doing democracy the Oregon way. I also want to say that this reminds me a little bit of my basketball days. And we've got to recognize the game is not over till there's a final buzzer. And that means that you also get a true and final score. So given that we await that, I'm just going to offer a few thoughts about our job ahead. First, I hope we'll be working with the President-elect Joe Biden and a Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to restore America's shared DNA of decency, fair play, and equal treatment for all. We're going to reject the politics of hatred and bigotry and divisiveness. And we're going to understand that politics is more than hunkering down with your political base. And I'll close by saying that I'm going to be going back to Washington to serve as the senior member of the Senate Finance Committee to provide immediate economic relief to especially help Oregonians who are dealing with the economic fallout of a public health crisis. And I'll be looking at efforts like expanding on the law that I pioneered to update the unemployment system to provide extra benefits and cover gig workers and the self-employed and independent contractors, people who nobody even thought of when the system was created almost 100 years ago. I'll also be working on tax policies that take on big pharma and big oil, and certainly the kind of tax goodies that they have gotten over the years are way, way out of hand. And fortunately, I'll have a great team to work with. Tonight, Shamia Fagan, Tobias Read, and I'm so pleased to hear the news about Chairman Peter DeFazio, a great leader who's been a partner with me on infrastructure and the strong lead that he has developed tonight. And then, of course, Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum. And what I'd like to do is now introduce you to newly elected colleague Senator Jeff Merkley. Jeff is a leader on so many of the issues we care about: climate change, human rights, priorities that really matter to working families. He's been a wonderful partner in the United States Senate. And as of a few minutes ago, based on what I saw on national TV, we should now refer to him as newly elected Senator Jeff Merkley, my partner.
Hey, greetings, everybody. I want to check and make sure that you can see and hear me. Hopefully you can. Any response out there? Yep, you can. Okay, great. Well, tonight Oregonians have made their voices heard loud and clear. And our Oregonians have rejected the politics of hate and division, and they've chosen a path of hope and healing. I feel really honored that Oregonians have chosen me to serve a third term for Oregon in the U.S. Senate. And I'm so grateful to everyone who dedicated their time and their energy to help win this fight. Mary Soderberg, my wife, is here with me. And thank you, Mary, for being with me and my partner on this journey, a complete partner from the very beginning. And I know often when people come to events, they say, well, it's okay to see you, but we really came to see Mary. So that speaks where the power is in this partnership. Thank you, honey. And thanks to my children, Jonathan and Bryn, who are working hard to forge their own paths to contribute to a better world and have to put up with this journey that I've been involved in. And my mother is here in the house tonight, Betty Merkley. She's 93. She's not doing too well, but she's hanging in there. She was determined to vote, and she just was so happy to see the initial results tonight. She had a simple formula for living your life. Do your best, do what's right, and never, ever step on anyone else to get ahead. And I sure wish someone had talked to Donald Trump about those principles when he was growing up. Huge appreciation to our fantastic campaign team, our field organizers, the thousands of volunteers working on my team, and the Oregon Democratic Party team. They tackled the unprecedented challenge of running a virtual campaign. Now, growing up as the son of a union millwright and still living in the same blue-collar community I grew up in, I could never have anticipated or imagined serving in the U.S. Senate. That's something rich and powerful and connected people do, not boys growing up in blue-collar communities. But America affords opportunities that begin with good families, strong public schools. My dad said, son, if you go through the doors of that schoolhouse and you study hard, you can do just about anything, because we're so fortunate to live in America. And he was right. Thank you, Oregonians, for vesting your faith in me. And tonight, Oregonians have evaluated the leadership of Donald Trump as president. And here is what our fellow Oregonians have found based on their votes as tallied a few moments ago: that Trump has failed us on leading the response to COVID-19. He's failed the seniors in our nursing homes, and he's failed the frontline heroes in our fields and clinics and factories, who must have the tools they need to be safe and healthy. If the COVID crisis has taught us anything, it's that healthcare is and must always be a human right. But Trump failed us in building a better healthcare system, failed us in taking on the high cost of drugs, failed to implement PPE and testing and tracing and social distancing that would have saved 100,000 American lives. Trump failed us by promoting hate and racism, dividing rather than uniting Americans. Black lives do matter. All people are created equal, regardless of who they are, where they come from, whom they love. Trump failed us on affordable housing. He failed us on education. He failed us on a fair tax system. He failed us on equality of opportunity. He failed us on honoring the checks and balance of our constitutional system between Congress and the courts and the executive. And he certainly failed us on tackling the planetary challenge of climate chaos. And he failed the basic test of human decency, deliberately harming refugee children on our border. And finally, he failed to secure the integrity of our elections, the foundations of our democratic republic, from threats, foreign and domestic. So tonight, Oregonians have rendered their judgment, a judgment I am hoping echoes across the land and becomes the judgment of the nation when the final electoral college votes are counted up. Donald Trump, you are fired. Now we have the hard work of rebuilding America. And the years ahead, I'm going to keep fighting for the vision of our Constitution, of government of, by, and for the people. And here is my plan. And this plan depends on having a blue Senate. And that is still hanging in the balance. It's going to be a cliffhanger. But I certainly hope when all the votes are tallied, we will have that majority, and Ron Wyden will be chair of the Finance Committee, able to help direct so many key issues. Number one, with a blue Senate, we unrig it. It's outrageous that the Republican priorities for the powerful, tax breaks for the rich, stacking the courts, require only 51 votes in the Senate. But the Democrats' priorities for the people, for investing in families, for creating passive opportunity for all, those require 60 votes, giving Mitch McConnell a veto that he uses to obstruct and block those investments and those passive opportunity. I will do everything I can to eliminate the McConnell veto so the Senate can once again be a great deliberative body responding to the will of the people. Second, I will be immersed in the efforts to restore election integrity. Look at all that's going on with the gerrymandering, the voter suppression, the voter intimidation, the dark money in politics. This corruption means that we have to win by a huge amount just to barely win when the votes are counted. That is how corrupted the system has become. And if you believe in our Constitution, you would believe in voter empowerment, not voter suppression. We are going to tear down those walls Trump is putting up between the voter and the ballot box. If we think about the challenge ahead as a baseball game, winning a blue House and a blue Senate and Oval Office tonight is equivalent of getting to first base. If we get to first base, we can get to second base, unrigging the Senate. If we get to second base, we can get to third base, restoring election integrity. That's third base. And now the path is cleared for the home plate and a home run. And here's what a home run looks like. Passing major bills before the 2021 August recess. We rebuild the foundations for families to thrive by investing in healthcare and housing and education and infrastructure. And we strengthen workers' ability to unionize, to get an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. And we open the doors of opportunity by passing the DREAM Act, the Equality Act, which I wrote 5 years ago based on Oregon's Equality Act. And we tackle systemic racism, which we have to eradicate from our laws and from our hearts. And we tackle climate chaos, which is ravaging Oregon, ravaging our planet, savaging our forests, our farms, our fishing, the heart of our rural economy. This climate chaos is the biggest test human civilization has faced. We must get America's house in order with bold, intensive efforts to transition to an economy based fully on renewable energy, a transition that will create millions of good-paying jobs. And we have to help lead and partner with the world because climate chaos is a tragedy of the commons on a global scale, and nothing short of aggressive global action will suffice. In the years ahead, I'm looking forward to working with my partner in the Senate, Ron Wyden, who hopefully will be the chair of the Senate Finance Committee, with our terrific Oregon partners in the House, Suzanne Bonamici and Earl and Kurt and Peter DeFazio. And thank you, 4th Congressional District, for re-electing Peter tonight. He will lead our nation's efforts on green infrastructure and transportation, which has a hand in shaping every issue. And I am so thrilled that Shamia has won the Secretary of State's race because it's an absolutely incredibly important position. It involves, for one thing, redrawing the boundaries of our state for the next 10 years. And of course, being ready to stand in for governor and doing the audits and making sure we have election integrity in Oregon. And so congratulations, Shamia, because those initial results look just absolutely outstanding. And to Tobias and Ellen, who are running for re-election, thank you for your public service. There is no doubt that this is a moment of great tension for our nation. The divisions are really deep. The chasm is broad. But I believe that we tonight have an opportunity, if we win the presidential race and we win the Senate, to launch a new and brighter chapter in our national journey. And in that brighter chapter, democracy will prevail. Science will prevail. Justice and equity will prevail. Peace will prevail. Our national vision of government of, by, and for the people will prevail. So let's, when the votes are counted, win the Senate, win the Oval Office, win the House, and get to work. Thank you all so much for being part of the team that is working to put America back on track and believes so fully in the vision of our We the People Constitution. Take care and good night.
Thank you, Senator Merkley, for your inspiration, your leadership, and boy, we look forward to another 6 years with you in the U.S. Senate. That's amazing. So I think we've got some of our video issues figured out. So our next guest goes without introduction. However, I am going to introduce her because she is one of those leaders who gets the job done with very little fanfare, but makes it happen. Everybody has been impacted by COVID extremely, but you may not know how well Oregon performs. Our our infection rate and our death rate is actually the lowest among the lowest among all the states, and the 5 lowest, and we are the lowest among any state with a major metro area. Now think about that. With all the massive protests, you remember the picture of the Burnside Bridge with thousands and thousands of people. Masks, baby. And Governor Brown has been a huge advocate for the simple masking up of Oregon. And I'll tell you what, her team has been magnificent in attacking the outbreaks where they've happened. And, tragically, we've lost between 500 and 600 people, but a lot of people are alive because of our governor, Kate Brown. And we all owe her so much debt of gratitude because our family members, our friends, and ourselves, we're all safer because of her. So, Governor, I could go on forever about you, but I'm going to just give it over to you.
Thank you, Casey. Great to see everybody. Really appreciate the DPO for bringing us together for a night this has been working towards for the last 4 years. A big shout out to Senator Wyden. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully he'll chair Senate Finance. Senator Jeff Merkley bringing it across the finish line again, and very, very pleased to hear that Senator Shamia Fagan will be the next Secretary of State of the great state of Oregon. Well, I have to go back to 2018. The last time I stood on this stage, nothing would have prepared us for 2020. In March, when the pandemic became a reality and everyday life was brought to a standstill, I thought, this is going to be the toughest time our state will ever see. Summer, as COVID cases were rising, George Floyd was murdered by the police in Minnesota, and the streets across Oregon, the streets of America, filled with a collective cry of outrage and anguish. Then Trump sent the streets of Portland, abducting people into unmarked vans. And as you all know, in September, so much of our state lit up with wildfires everywhere, stoked by strong winds, tearing through towns, our communities, and forests that have turned to kindling after years of drought brought on by changing climate. But through all of this, COVID, the protests, wildfires, one date on our calendar hasn't changed: November 3rd. No matter what the state has gone through, no matter what Donald Trump said on TV, each and every one of yourselves to a fair and accurate election. Each and every one of you set out to prove to the country that nothing can stop every ballot from being counted and every voice from being heard. And you know what? Democratic and Republican states alike have adopted voting reforms that we first pioneered right here in Oregon. Now, not every state system is perfect, and we're going to see this play out in the coming days as ballots are being counted. So everybody take a deep breath. I don't know about you, but I'm drinking a glass of Oregon Pinot, and we're eating some really good pizza. But what we do know is that Oregon has shown the way, and it's very, very clear that vote by mail is here to stay. And that's why it's so important that we're all here. No matter how tough things are, no matter what life is, no matter what that man in the White House says, we are going to do everything we can to protect our democracy. And here, the ballot here in Oregon is a testament to that commitment. We voted on ballot measures that ensure where women, people of color can win public office, not just the wealthy and well-connected. Ballot measures that lower the cost of healthcare for all of us while protecting our kids' health. Ballot measures that treat addiction as a health issue, not as a criminal act. We defended our great Senator Jeff Merkley, DeFazio, Blumenauer, Bonamici, and Schrader as they defended Oregon and Washington, D.C. And we sent a very strong message to the Trump administration by supporting Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum's fight in the courts against the president's racist and discriminatory policies. We stood up for Tobias Read as he stood up for our economy in the midst of unprecedented crisis. And each and every one of you went to the mat for our democracy with your work to put Shamia Fagan in the Secretary of State's office. Nothing is more important than ensuring that every voter's voice is heard and every vote counts. Well, in times like these, especially in times like these, it's more important than ever that we take the steps to shore up the foundation. And tonight in Oregon, that foundation is strong and it has been built by all of your hands. So stay safe, take good care, wear your face coverings, and let's settle in for a long night. And so I'm going to turn it back to Casey. Let's go get them. Thank you, Oregon Democrats. You rock.
Governor, you rock. Thank you so much. And Governor, I know we were having some technical issues there. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us while we work through them. These are weird times. I would much more love being at the convention center with you so we could all give each other big Oregon hugs. But hey, we soldier on. So thank you so much for being with us and for putting up with technology. Next, we want to share some review of the ballot measures that we have passed tonight in Oregon. So with that, I'm going to defer back to our stage managers of the technical staff so they can show some clips of ballot measures and ballot measure information for you. Folks, take it away.
My name's Sunny Mehta. I'm the campaign manager for Yes on Measure 107 for fair and honest elections. We're so excited to share this big win we had tonight with you. Oregonians have made their voices heard loud and clear. We have a fundamental right to know the true sources of money spent in our campaigns and elections. And by codifying campaign contribution limits into the state constitution, Oregon voters have sent a clear mandate to the state legislature. Our leaders must pass meaningful campaign finance limits in the 2021 legislative session. We're so proud of the work of the dozens of dedicated volunteers, the hundreds of small dollar contributors, and the support of folks like you in the Democratic Party of Oregon. None of this would have happened without support from folks like yourselves. So thank you. Finally, thank you to the broad, diverse, statewide network of Oregonians represented by organizations across the state. Because of your work ensuring and fighting for a fair and accessible democracy, we had a big win tonight. Finally, thank you to our campaign committee members, Oregon Governor Kate Brown, Apano, Unite Oregon, Portland Forward, Honest Elections Oregon, Oregon AFSCME, PECUN, Oregon Education Association, and Common Cause Oregon. Because of all of your tireless work and advocacy on this ballot measure, we had this big win. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening and that we celebrate for the rest of the night as results come in.
Hello, and happy election night. My name is Elizabeth Shepard with the Yes on 108 campaign. This year has tested Oregon's resilience to forces out of our control. Tonight's results show us who we are when we have a choice, when the choice and the actions of one person can help determine the outcomes for another. When a majority of Oregonians voted yes on Measure 108, we chose each other. That's who we are, even after all that we've been through, especially after all that we've been through. We put the health and healthcare access first for our neighbors. And we fought back against one of the biggest threats to Oregon families, nicotine vape and smoking addiction. When it comes to protecting healthcare for the 1 in 4 of us who rely on the Oregon Health Plan and increasing resources for smoking prevention and cessation programs, Oregonians came out in force with a clear message: yes for a healthy future. I want to thank the dozens of volunteers that turned out for Measure 108, as well as our unprecedented coalition of healthcare organizations, small businesses, racial justice organizations, chambers of commerce, labor, and voters like you who helped contribute to our historic outcome tonight. Thank you.
Hey friends, Sam Chapman here, campaign manager for the Yes on Measure 109 campaign for psilocybin therapy. I just want to take a quick second to say thank you to everyone who helped us get this far. This campaign has literally been 5 years in the making, and we couldn't have made it this far where we are today without your support. A huge shout out to our amazing staff, Charlotte, our political director, Anne-Marie, our education director, and Kabir, our field and social media ambassador, for the countless hours, blood, sweat, and tears that you all have poured into this campaign. It's really been an honor to work with all of you in making this a reality for so many Oregonians. Speaking of Oregonians, I'd also like to thank the 160,000 plus Oregon voters from over 300 different cities who helped us make the ballot in the midst of a pandemic, no less. I'd also like to thank a few of our spokespeople, specifically Senator Elizabeth Steiner Hayward, Dr. Nick Gideons, Chad Kuski, and Mara McGraw, and of course our fearless chief petitioners, Tom and Shreet Eckert. Thank you. Oregon is suffering from the most severe mental health crisis in the country, and it's time that we provide those who are suffering with new options. And it will be because of people just like you who have been supporting our efforts over the past year as to why we will make history this election night by creating the first ever legal psilocybin therapy program in the world. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Anthony Johnson, here with my fellow chief petitioners for Measure 110. If you're watching this, that means Oregon has passed this measure and is moving forward with a health-based approach to treating addiction. We'd like to thank the Democratic Party of Oregon and voters from all across the state for supporting this important measure that's going to save and improve lives. And now I'll kick it off to my heroes in the field, Janie and Haven, to say a few words as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janie Gullickson, co-petitioner with Anthony and Haven for Measure 110. And I'm also a person in recovery and the executive director of the Mental Health and Addiction Association of Oregon. And I would like to thank you, Democratic Party and Oregon voters, for shifting the paradigm and supporting to have funding dedicated to treatment and recovery. This measure is going to mean that we will have more treatment beds, more peer mentors, recovery centers, housing, and job training. This is going to drastically improve lives. Haven?
And I'm Haven Wheelock, also a proud and excited chief petitioner. Sorry, I'm going to cry. It's just what I do. I want to thank everyone who is voting, everyone with the Democratic Party, all of my co-petitioners, and everyone who's worked so hard on this campaign. This measure is a game changer for the people I serve. I work for Outside In. I run our drug user health services program, and I've spent nearly 20 years watching people I care about cycle in and out of jail and lose their lives due to overdoses, due to the stigma and the way people are treated. And I'm just so excited that we are finally looking at treating people with the dignity and love and respect that they deserve, and give people the chances and the tools to really make their lives happier and healthier. And we as Oregonians are changing the world by doing this. And I am just so proud of the work that we've all done together, and am so grateful for everyone who's been brave enough to stand up and say, we need to do better. The war on drugs is failing. It is killing people. And we know that a health-based approach is better than a criminal justice approach. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Unger, Executive Director of SEIU Local 503. SEIU here in Oregon represents thousands of workers, public workers, care workers, hospital workers, janitors, and many more. I want to thank the DPO for giving me the opportunity to make this video. Now, I'm making it a week before the election because that's what you do in a pandemic. But even a week before the election, we know that working families are showing up en masse to vote here in Oregon and across the country. Black, white, and brown families are showing up to make sure their voice is heard this election season, and that can only have a good impact. I want to thank all the SEIU members, staff, and volunteers who put countless hours into making sure that candidates who will stand with workers have a fighting chance tonight on election night. We're excited about Shamia Fagan for Secretary of State, Deb Patterson, a home care worker and an SEIU member running for the state Senate in Salem, and clearly the opportunities that a Biden and Harris ticket could have in the White House. This has been a really tough year for everyone, and SEIU members have been on the front line, whether it's caring for the most vulnerable during the pandemic, or protecting communities during the wildfires, or just making sure that everyone has access to the services they need in every corner of our state. And we are hopeful that tonight, candidates who share our values and who will show up for workers win, so that 2021 can be a better year for working families across Oregon. Well, we'll all be waiting for the results together. So thanks for giving me this opportunity, and we'll have plenty, hopefully, to celebrate. Have a good night.
In countless ways, 2020 has been defined by the experiences and the challenges of working people. Essential workers, from firefighters to farm workers, started out this year working within an economic system that was already picking winners and losers with a vengeance, leaving behind women and workers of color at an alarming rate. And then the pandemic and economic collapse hit us like a ton of bricks. 230,000 Americans have now died, including 35 Oregonians as the result of workplace contractions. Tens of millions have filed for unemployment and lost their health care. And essential workers are yet again bearing the brunt of another crisis, all amidst a long overdue reckoning around racial injustice in our country and within our law enforcement organizations, making one thing clear: we will never achieve economic justice without achieving racial justice. Structural change never comes easy, especially during a global pandemic. But the resilience, the commitment, and the sense of solidarity from the labor movement will be a difference maker with tonight's results. Despite the odds, despite the distance, despite the danger, the Oregon labor movement has been working around the clock to win for workers from the White House to the State House, right here in Oregon and in battleground states. And when workers win tonight, we can then truly build back better from this current disaster. Build back in a way that centers working people and moves us towards our shared vision of a fair and just economy for all Oregonians.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the live feed. And I am happy to introduce yet another congressman, a Democratic congressman that we are sending back to Washington, D.C. to advocate for all Oregonians. And without further ado, I want to immediately take this over to Congressman Kurt Schrader. Congratulations on your reelection, and please take it away.
Hey, thanks, Casey. Appreciate it. Heck of a night. My goodness, it's going to be a long night, longer than we hoped, I'm sure, but looking good overall. Certainly, Oregon is doing a great job. Everyone on this call has worked their tail off for Democrats, and it's made a huge difference. We're just so lucky to be in the position we're in. I feel sorry for a lot of our folks in the middle part of this country, and it's quite a battle, but we're feeling very good. Preliminary results look great for our race. Look good for Peter so far, too, which is a big deal. Want to make sure that gets across the finish line. So it's in no small part. I mean, and everyone on this call has had to adapt to getting the vote out, doing our job as Democrats to encourage people to come back and vote Democrat at the end of the day. So I just really impressed with our ability to adapt and still get the vote out. I mean, Oregon's always been a leader in getting the vote out and reaching out to voters, getting things done. And once again, it looks like we've done a good job. So see how things end up on some of the other races, but I'm feeling pretty good. And just want to thank everybody out there for helping us get across the finish line.
It just saves us so much time. It makes it really easy and seamless. Pick an order.
Thank you so much. And Congressman Schrader, I was hearing animal noises in the background as you were on. I believe that's because you're a veterinarian and you're always in touch with our furry friends. So glad we're running along with you. So next, I want to introduce our Democratic Majority Leader in our State House, Barbara Smith Warner, and
you can catch us up on about what's going on. We're in our Zoom hole. We do not know.
Right. Amen. Well, thanks, Casey, and thanks everybody at the DPO. It's been a long 4 years getting here, and I'm happy to be here reporting about the great things that are going on specifically in the state of Oregon. For 4 long years, we have watched in horror as Donald Trump has split this country, inflamed violent divisions, and brought extremist white nationalism into the mainstream. Tonight, once again, I'm happy to say that Oregon voted loudly to reject the ugliness of the Trump administration. It's obviously still early. Votes are still being counted everywhere. It's going to be some time before we can see the full picture, but I am optimistic. We vote, we count every vote. We've known that from the start, so we're going to stay focused on that. But what I do know is here in Oregon, voters reaffirmed our strong progressive majorities in both the Oregon House and the Oregon Senate, sending a clear message about the kind of world we want to rebuild. As of now, all of our incumbents look really good, and things are looking really good for Democrat Jason Krupp in the House seat in Bend. So we're really psyched about that. And we've got some tough races on the coast in a couple of open seats there, and we're keeping a close eye on those. So what it looks like, we're going to go into the 2021 legislative session with a solid progressive majority that will take on our state's biggest priorities. Today, and for the last 2.5 weeks, Oregon voters have said loud and clear with their votes for strong Democrats all across the state in the House and the Senate. They have said that we want to build a future where reproductive rights are never in question, where love wins, where we fully fund our schools, where healthcare is a right, where everyone has a chance to thrive, not just those who were born into wealth, where Black lives matter, and where facts and science matter. Right now, our state is hurting, right? We're reeling from the impact of COVID, a global recession, the devastation from the unprecedented wildfires, but we know that we are stronger than any of these crises. We are resilient, we are resistant, and we are all in this together. We have a lot of work to do to build back better. In the coming legislative session, we are going to be dedicated to dismantling racist structures across our state and in our state government. We are going to focus on balancing the budget in a way that invests in the communities that are most impacted by all of those crises. And we are going to protect healthcare for every Oregonian. So I just want to say, on behalf of the Oregon House Democratic Caucus, I want to express my deepest gratitude for every volunteer, every donor, every staffer, every community group, every partner organization, and every candidate who made tonight's victories possible. Because even in these tough days, our future is bright because of each one of you. Thank you for saving democracy.
Thank you, Representative Smith Warner. It's a pleasure to have you on tonight and fighting the good fight as always. We've known each other a few years now, since I was yelling at you about 2010 when you worked at Ron Wyden's office. So, how we progress and how we say
Amen. And here we are, all still fighting the good fight for the right causes.
Oh, we
absolutely side by side with you, Casey. Always.
Absolutely. No, that's good to be shoulder to shoulder with you, because we're fighting for everybody. Absolutely everybody.
Amen.
So thank you so much. All right. So moving on, I would like to introduce our one of our DNC representatives, Travis Nelson. He's also the leader of our caucuses, in that he's the DPO caucus liaison person, for lack of a better term, but he's a great advisor to our many caucuses. We have 17 specific caucuses in the DPO. So he's going to tell you all about that. So roll tape.
Hi, I'm Travis Nelson, RN, one of Oregon's 3 elected Democratic National Committee members, and I'm here to talk to you about our caucuses. There are 17 caucuses in the DPO, and any registered Democrat in Oregon can join a caucus. The caucuses represent different communities, such as the Black Caucus, the Asian American and Pacific Islanders Caucus, and our Stonewall Caucus, which is our LGBTQ+ caucus. They also represent different interests, such as our Gun Owners Caucus, our Healthcare Caucus, and our Environmental Caucus. Caucuses work to elect Democrats by doing direct voter contact, volunteer recruitment, and working on the issues that are important to them. To learn more about the DPO's caucuses, visit dpo.org/caucuses.
Hi, Pete Lee here, Vice Chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon. I want to take a moment and tell you about the Neighborhood Leader Program, or as we like to call it, the NLP. The NLP is our grassroots neighbor-to-neighbor get-out-the-vote organizing program powered by everyday people. Here's how it works. Volunteers, called neighborhood leaders, are given about 50 Democratic voters right in their own neighborhoods. They're given scripts, training, and campaign literature. We'll provide great and inspiring training to connect our fellow human beings together and help them vote. It's popular because it's easy on your schedule, fun, and effective. This year, more than 2,600 of your fellow Oregonians became neighborhood leaders. They're assigned more than 189,000 Oregon voters and have connected with over 100,000 of them by postcard, phone calls, and texts. Learn more about the NLP and sign up to become a neighborhood leader at dpo.org/NLP.
Hi, I'm Michelle Risher, Vice Chair of the Democratic Party of Oregon. Thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate the Democratic candidates running to serve Oregonians. Each and every one of the candidates running tonight had to start somewhere, and for many, they got their start running for local office. Each year, the DPO runs a local election program that provides our county parties with the training and tools to recruit and support candidates for local offices that share our democratic values. The DPO Local Elections Project then provides our candidates the training they need to run effective grassroots campaigns. In some of these races, simply filing to be a candidate is enough to win the campaign. In last year's May special district elections, 720 Democratic candidates filed to run, and 603 won the races. If you would like to learn more about the DPO Local Elections Project, send an email to campaign@dpo.org.
Good evening. My name is Emily McLean, and I'm proud to represent Planned Parenthood PAC of Oregon. We proudly work to elect candidates who champion policies that ensure sexual and reproductive health care is both affordable and accessible. With our supporters, we stand up for the 11 Planned Parenthood health centers across Oregon and the more than 60,000 patients who rely on them every year for compassionate, non-judgmental care. Though this year has looked different, we dug deep to elect champions here in Oregon who are the antithesis of the Trump administration. We've been on the phones, on our computers, talking to voters and partnering with amazing folks like you. Thank you to each and every one of you who have tirelessly worked on the election, and thank you to our Planned Parenthood PAC of Oregon volunteers. Our rights have been under attack since day one, along with the rights of so many others. That's why we passed legislation to protect abortion access here and why we defended it at the ballot in 2018. It's also why we worked to ensure abortion, family planning, and gender-affirming care were deemed essential when the pandemic hit. That is also why we cannot stop electing champions like Governor Kate Brown and Attorney General Ellen Rosenblum and Senators Merkley and Wyden and our legislative champions who fight back with us. Now, after a rushed nomination to the Supreme Court, we know that our work in Oregon is more important than ever to ensure reproductive freedom is a reality for every single person. I have hope because each of you have given so much of your time. Thank you. Thank you so much. We will not go back. Not now, not ever.
Hi, I'm Janine Morales.
And I'm Carol Zanker.
And I'm Megan Trombetta.
Hi, I'm Rachel Fetters.
And I'm Christelle Allen.
And we're the team at NARAL Pro-Choice Oregon.
It's been a difficult year. COVID-19 has taken far too many lives, and Black, Indigenous, and Latinx communities continue to be among the hardest hit.
With Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation, it is safe to say the Supreme Court is broken.
We mourn the loss of RBG, and our civil and human rights, including the right to a legal and safe abortion, have never been more threatened.
But here in Oregon, NARAL has built strong supermajorities of pro-choice elected leaders who have codified this right into law and are ready to fight back.
We've worked to pass the strongest and most inclusive Reproductive Health Equity Act that has ever been passed to date.
We've expanded care to those who had been categorically denied due to immigration status or gender identity.
And we are so excited to officially welcome some new and amazing pro-choice champions to elected office later tonight.
In 2020, NARAL Pro-Choice Oregon endorsed the most diverse slate of statewide, legislative, and local candidates ever.
And while we may not know what the future holds, we know that in Oregon, our leaders won't stop until reproductive freedom, autonomy, and justice is accessible to all.
Hi again, everybody. Well, we're zooming through this, although this is a different format and a little odd to use, but we're working through our technical difficulties. So our next guest, I'm happy to announce, is yet another re-elected Democratic executive team office holder. You may have noticed him on some of the better ads of this campaign. The man can weld an axe, and I will leave it at that, and hopefully he won't expound upon compound interest. But Tobias, take it away, and please. It's okay. Well, it looks like we're in the early days of, just like in the early days of COVID-19, he's having a little problem hearing us. So with that, we'll let him adjust that. Okay, we're working on that. And I just want to add while we, once again, while we wait on fixing the sound problems with Treasurer Read's equipment there, I want to thank all our county party leadership and volunteers and teams out there. Every county worked it in their own special way. They knew how to get out to vote. They knew how they needed to reach the voters. And as the days of GOTV were wearing on, ever since the ballots were out, it's really clear that everybody was doing their best in reaching out to our Democratic voters. And there was some impressive turnout. And so I just want to thank everybody and all you folks that are involved with your county parties. A job well done. So Treasurer Read, are you with us there now?
I am. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take it away, sir.
Well, thank you, Casey, and good evening, Oregonians. I wish we could all be together tonight so I could thank you for all the things that you've done for me, for my family, and for the state. But instead, I will just thank you tonight for again giving me the honor of serving as your state treasurer. I also want to thank my opponent, Jeff Goodman. He ran a strong race, and I know his commitment to Oregon is sincere. In fact, I look forward to working with him on some of the many areas where we agree. He made me a better candidate and a better treasurer. Tonight, as we look forward, no matter what the outcome of the national election is, we need to bring an end to the divisiveness that has cost our state and our country so much. I feel really strongly that as a country, we need to be a lot more decent, a lot more just, and a lot more hopeful. We have a lot of work to do and a lot of healing to do. And we've got to get after the problems that this pandemic has laid bare. In the days ahead, we have to help thousands of Oregonians recover from the loss of their homes and their businesses at the hands of devastating wildfires. And that's true no matter who they voted for. We have to get control of this virus and safely reopen our schools and our economy. We have to help the Oregonians who've lost their jobs and might be struggling to afford rent or maybe not have enough to eat. And we have to continue planning for Oregon's future, to put ourselves on a strong financial footing to be ready for whatever challenges come next. But the only way any of this is possible is if we put aside the divisions of this election and start looking out for one another. Oregonians have kind hearts and a generous spirit. So it's up to each of us now to start protecting one another, to be part of a rebuilding that will see us come out of this pandemic stronger and more resilient than before. As treasurer, that means continuing to help Oregonians have a chance at getting ahead, helping people plan for a secure retirement, enabling young parents to open their child's first college savings account, and investing in infrastructure that makes our economy go, the roads and schools, the affordable housing, and the high-speed internet, so we can make sure that our people have the skills and the opportunities they need. There are going to be challenges on this road ahead. There's no question of that. But let's begin by giving each other the benefit of the doubt, knowing that we all want the same things for our kids and grandkids. I feel really confident that as Americans and as Oregonians, we're up for that challenge. And I can't wait to get back to work. Thank you all.
Thank you, Treasurer Read, and we can't wait for you to get back to work as well. You're such an advocate for all Oregonians, but particularly for retirees and budding students, even before they're born. That's some great programs that you're working. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So, and speaking of where he started those programs was the Oregon legislature. So next up to bat is Speaker of Oregon House, now reelected, Tina Kotek. And the last time I saw you speak, Madam Speaker, was when we had completed filling every Democratic slot for every legislative race on the ballot. And that was truly celebratory. And then we hit COVID. But anyway, the mic is all yours now.
Good evening, Casey. It's nice to see you. Yeah, to remind people, back in February, after the Republicans walked out, for the first time that anybody can remember, we had 60 Democrats running for all 60 open House seats for this election cycle. So first of all, I want to thank all those Democrats across the state who ran in our House races. And I want to thank you for your leadership. You're doing a great job emceeing tonight. And I also want to congratulate our statewide people I have served with. Senator Fagan, just being called as our next Secretary of State. Treasurer Read, and we served together in the Oregon House. Want to congratulate Attorney General Rosenblum for her win as well. So good night here in Oregon. And so just want to thank all the Oregonians, all the Democrats, and everybody who voted for progressive candidates this evening to put Oregon on the right path. 4 years ago, on what now feels like a completely different planet, Democrats in Oregon's House of Representatives pledged to ensure that Oregon would remain an island of sanity and hope in a country that faced chaos, bigotry, and darkness. And tonight, I'm proud to say that we kept our word. And even in the face of Trump's divisive, destructive time in office, we continued modeling for the rest of the country what bold, progressive leadership should look like. And our work continues here in Oregon and will continue. Tonight, I hope the message is received loud and clear. Oregon is dedicated to building a world that respects the dignity of all people and lifts up those who have been marginalized and hurt by systemic racism. Oregon will continue to be a welcoming place for immigrants and refugees and anyone who's coming here to build a better life for themselves and their families. I'm really excited to welcome the strong team of new House members who have been elected this year. In 2021, we will face enormous challenges with a women-led supermajority and the most diverse caucus ever. If you don't know our new members yet, just wait. You are going to be blown away by their brilliance and dedication. With strong majorities in both chambers of the state legislature, we'll continue to put the needs of everyday Oregonians first. Good jobs, affordable housing, accessible health care, and schools that lift up all kids. To everyone out there watching tonight, thank you. Thank you for everything you did, for the phone calls you made, for the dollars you contributed, to the postcards you wrote, to the things you dropped at people's doors, to let them know there was an election and to give them a sense of where to put their vote. Thank you for all the work you contributed to making these victories possible tonight. And as we now shift our focus to the work of the incoming legislature, let me be clear. We will not let you down. We will not let Oregonians down. Thank you for everything, and I'm glad we're having a good night here in Oregon. And thanks, Casey. Thanks for everything.
Okay, I am on. Hey, everybody. All right. Next, obviously, we are very proud of our legislative majorities, and with legislative majorities, we get legislative majority leaders. Now, you heard earlier from the House Majority Leader. Now you get to hear from our Oregon Senate Majority Leader. I am happy to introduce to you Senator Rob Wagner. Sir, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Casey. It's great seeing you, or at least virtually being with you. Although I will say I do miss seeing everybody at a Hilton when we're able to go in and out of rooms and have multiple camera screens up and being able to actually interact. I'm State Senator Rob Wagner. I'm the Majority Leader in the Oregon State Legislature. And tonight I thought I'd give you just a little bit of an update on where we are with our campaigns and how excited I am about the results that we've already seen this evening. Harkening back to about a year ago, I had the coveted spot with my colleague, Barbara Smith Warner, the House Majority Leader, at the Oregon Summit at 8 a.m. After the night of revelry that was Saturday night. It's always great to get the 7:30 a.m. wake-up call. But I was so pleased that I got an opportunity to talk about our vision in the Oregon State Legislature, and specifically in the Oregon State Senate, about what we were planning on doing on our quest to win a walkout-proof majority in the Oregon Legislature. And the person that introduced me in Central Oregon that morning was a woman named Eileen Kiley, who I'm very proud to say is 2,000 votes ahead right now in Senate District 27 in Bend, and looks like she's going to go on to victory, joining 4 new members of our caucus. Right now, we feel quite confident that we're going to be at 19 seats. We may get to 20. Regardless of where we land, what we did this election cycle with Oregon Democrats across the state, we filed candidates in every single state Senate legislative contest. And people ran to hold the Republicans accountable in Oregon, and we ran competitive campaigns from the coast to Idaho, from Washington to the California border. I'm so proud of the effort that we were able to make in these trying times. And I feel so confident that after the dust settles and we get through and we're able to do the final vote tally, that we will have a very strong story to tell about holding people accountable when they walk off the job, and on making sure that the values around education and public health and sensible gun safety and the future of our planet are issues that deserve debate and consideration. They deserve a progressive, bold vision in the Oregon State Legislature. I couldn't be happier to have an opportunity to serve as the Majority Leader in the Oregon State Legislature, and I'm thrilled about so far where we are with our election results. I know that all of you are both watching this at one corner of your eye, and you've got whatever TV on right now blaring at you about what the national map is and how long it's going to take. Just know that your effort is not lost. And ultimately, I'm confident that we are going to win. Thank you so much for everything that you do. And we're on to the next. Let's go get them.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Your patience is commendable. We knew this was going to go long, but who knew we're going to go into maybe tomorrow morning, maybe even longer. But look, we feel good about where we are. We really do. I'm here to tell you tonight, we believe we're on track to win this election.
Yes.
We knew because of the unprecedented early vote and the mail-in vote that it's going to take a while. We're going to have to be patient until the hard work of tallying the votes is finished. And it ain't over till every vote is counted. Every ballot is counted. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good about where we are. We believe one of the nets has suggested we've already won Arizona, but we're confident about Arizona. That's a turnaround. We also just called it for Minnesota, and we're still in the game in Georgia, although that's not one we expected. And we're feeling real good about Wisconsin and Michigan. And by the way, it's going to take time to count the votes. We're going to win Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I've been talking to the folks in Philly, Allegheny County, Scranton, and they're really encouraged by the turnout and what they see. Look, you know, we could know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer. As I've said all along, it's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people. But I'm optimistic about this outcome. And I want to thank every one of you who came out and voted in this election. And by the way, Chris Coons and the Democrats, congratulations here in Delaware.
John Carney.
Pardon me?
John Carney.
Hey, John, the Gov, yeah, the whole team, man, you've done a great job. I'm grateful to the poll workers, to our volunteers, our canvassers, everyone who participated in this democratic process. And I'm grateful to all of my supporters here in Delaware and all across the nation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And folks, you heard me say it before. Every time I walk out of my grandpa's house up in Scranton, he'd yell, Joey, keep the faith. And my grandma, when she was alive, yelled, no, Joey, spread it. Keep the faith, guys. We're going to win this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Your patience is great. Let's walk over here.
that's okay. So when you tell me when the live stream is up. Yeah. I'm recording audio. Can you?
Good evening, my fellow Oregonians. While we are still waiting for the final vote tally, it appears likely that I will be your next Secretary of State. This is an incredible thing for me to be able to utter. As a kid who grew up raised by a single dad in Wasco County, a proud graduate of public schools in Dufur and the Dalles, while my mom battled addiction and homelessness in Portland. To be able to have your trust to be the next Secretary of State is an incredible honor. Now, tonight we're watching national results, and this is another place that Oregon can lead the way. Because while we have had many unexpected challenges in the last 9 months since I got into this race, our schools have closed, we have to wear masks nearly everywhere that we go. Some have lost their health, their loved ones, their jobs, or their jobs have changed. Or some of us have done one too many Zoom meetings with a nice shirt and pajama pants on the bottom because we know that's happening. But the bottom line is the one thing that has not changed is the resiliency of Oregon's vote by mail system and our democracy. This is now the moment that we get to lead the nation. Help our fellow Americans take a collective breath and wait, because we know how to do that here in Oregon. Some of the results of our races tonight will be obvious, some will not. And as our nation waits for the results of our presidential election, we get to show them how we do it here in Oregon. That it doesn't matter that we get the results early. It doesn't matter that we get the results when we want them. It matters that we get the results right. And we will wait as long as it takes for every voice to be heard, for every vote to be counted. I want to thank my friends and family for this extraordinary honor. First and foremost, my beautiful children, Alton and Imogene, who are in bed right now, but I will be happy to celebrate with them in the morning. My partner, Matthew, my Aunt Marty, who came to be with me here and help us get through this, and our incredible supporters who volunteered and made countless phone calls. To our donors, the folks who gave the little that they could once, twice, maybe a couple other times to make sure that we had the resources to tell Oregon about our incredible vote by mail system and the kind of Secretary of State that Oregon deserves. Tonight, we wait and we help the nation wait for the results to make sure we get every single voice and every single vote counted. Thank you very much.
elected yet again by the 4th Congressional District of Oregon to represent us in Washington, D.C. This is a district that mirrors the country. There are a lot of people in the rural areas on the coast and elsewhere struggling to make ends meet. And they want to know that the federal government is going to do something to make their lives better. And that is what I have dedicated my whole congressional career to. So thank you for helping me to win and yet again represent you, despite the fact that this was the most expensive congressional race in the history of the state of Oregon. And by the way, it wasn't from my side. It was on the other side. All those negative ads, etc. It was tough. It was discouraging. And I hope that my win in this district reflects the United States as a whole. We won't know the results of the presidential election for days. Every vote must be counted. But I have faith in the American people. We don't want to be divided. We want to come together. We want to do better together. We want to be the people who raised the greatest generation that won World War II and have done so much to help the entire world. We want to lead the world in dealing with the most existential threat we have, which is climate change. We want to restore integrity to the national government. This, quite frankly, I got to say this, is the most corrupt administration in the history of the United States of America. I don't even know who heads up the Environmental Protection Agency. Pretty critical. Clean air, clean water. Every American wants clean air and clean water. I don't even know who heads up the Interior Department anymore, because there have been so many scandals and so many of these people have had to resign in disgrace. We need an administration and a government that will bring us all back together and be what we have always been, the greatest country on earth. I've got to recognize, the unbelievable number of volunteers I had in this race who did so much. I mean, when you get $7 million spent against you, well, guess what? They can't buy the volunteers. They had to buy paid canvassers. They had to buy paid phone banks. I didn't have to do that because Oregonians believe in me and believe in the future. So, this is a reflection of who we are, who we can be, and how we can all do better together. I'm looking forward so much to going back to Washington, D.C. again to represent you all and to provide us with a 21st century transportation infrastructure bill, one which will both deal with climate change and provide millions of good paying jobs for Americans in every sector of the economy of the United States of America. A government that will defeat COVID, will provide relief to Americans who are suffering because of COVID economically. We passed 3 bills in the House that are sitting in the Senate. Come on, guys, get it together. Let's help the American people. 108,000 of my people got relief under the first COVID bill that we negotiated with the administration. And there are many, many other thousands of people waiting to get help, to get better health care, to get some economic assistance, to help them and their kids have a better lives. So thank you all. It's been a very, very long election, and it's not over yet because we have to wait and wait patiently for the results of the presidential. But I'm hopeful it'll be Joe Biden, because Joe Biden wants to work with me on rebuilding our infrastructure in a 21st century way and putting millions of Americans to work. So thank you and good night.
With great thanks and congratulations to Congressman Peter DeFazio, Congressman re-elect for the 4th CD. We're so, so glad he's going back there. Before we close out, I want to again thank all of you and all the hard work you put in, all the support you've given Democrats. And I want to do one more thank you. That is to every single Democrat that ran for office in the state of Oregon, from the top of the line, Jeff and Peter and Shamia, all the way down to the folks that were working the city councils in the smallest of towns. And I don't even mean down, I mean over, because everybody makes a difference. Obviously, not everybody can win, but every one of you has made such a great difference. You heard me mention earlier when we were talking with Speaker Kotek how we put a Democrat on every dotted line to run for the the Oregon State House, and that's a tremendous accomplishment. It spreads a Democratic message about how we care about all people on all lives and a sustainable future for our entire planet. And we will keep the work going. And with you, we'll keep the work going because it's the only thing we can do. So breathe tonight. We've done very well in Oregon. Congratulations to everybody. You all have really laid it on the field, and thank you so much. And breathe, and we'll let those other states count their votes. And we're going to cross our fingers, hope for the best. And, you know, from the lips of Peter DeFazio to the ears of the great vote counter. Okay, it's getting late. I'm getting a little loopy too. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And tomorrow we go forward. Well, after a good night's sleep. Thank you all. Good night.